Yoshida has something very interesting to say about the Nintendo Switch 2, and basically saying Nintendo is losing their identity. Says Switch 2's focus on power is what other companies would do. And yeah, this is lavoncason, and here's the question: is Nintendo losing its identity? Well, Yoshida says so. Personally, I don't think they are losing their identity. I think it's something that they always have done. Nintendo, you gotta think of it like this: revolution system and evolution system. So revolution system example would be a DS with the touchscreen, and the 3DS would be an evolution system, better DS but with the 3D slider as a gimmick. And again, the Nintendo Switch is the revolutionary system with the hybrid concept, and the Nintendo Switch 2 is the evolution system, better, Switch, more powerful processor, supporting up to 4K resolution, 120 FPS, and its gimmick is just, the Joy-Con mouse, things like that. But at the end of the day, it's just a better Nintendo Switch. Another example would be the Game Boy, the revolutionary system, and the Game Boy Advance, the evolutionary system. At the end of the day, it's just a better Game Boy, an advanced Game Boy, hence Game Boy Advance. So let's read some of the things of what Yoshida said. To me, it was a bit of a mixed message from Nintendo. Yoshida explains, in a sense, I think Nintendo is losing their identity. In my opinion, for me, they always about creating some new experience, like designing hardware and games together to create something, an amazing new experience. But Switch 2, as we all anticipate, is a better Switch, right? It's a larger screen, a more powerful processor, high resolution, 4K, 120 FPS. They even had a hardware person starting the stream like other platforms do, right? Well, to me, it seems like Yoshida was expecting a more revolutionary system, a more defining gimmick to this Nintendo console than what everybody was expecting, which was just at the end of the day a more powerful Switch. So let's keep on reading. Because it's a better Switch, the core premise of the whole Switch 2, we made things better, and that's something other companies have been doing all the time. And Nintendo themselves have been doing it as well with the DS and the 3DS. Game Boy Advance, NES to Super Nintendo, Wii to Wii U. Yoshida added, while the idea of the Switch with more powerful is undeniably a good thing because it enables certain third-party series to arrive on Nintendo hardware for the first time, such as Cyberpunk. He feels this is less of an enticing prospect for players who have multiple consoles and have already played those games. But you can play those games on the go, and it's much more simple to do that on the Nintendo Switch 2 than on the Steam Deck at times, to be honest with you guys. And so, yeah, when it comes to the whole Steam Deck versus the Nintendo Switch 2, Nintendo Switch 2 wins when it comes to simplicity in picking up and playing. So yeah, I think Yoshida was expecting more of a defining gimmick, more defining innovation and things of that nature, more of a revolutionary system, I guess. Of course, it's a more powerful Switch, but it's great if your gaming was only on Nintendo hardware. And it's the first time for you to be able to play amazing games like Elden Ring for the first time, he explained. That's a good point. That's a good point from Yoshida. That's definitely a good point from Yoshida himself. That's a good point, definitely. But for us, the core gamers who own multiple hardware and play games on PlayStation, Xbox, PC, and the games they showed off, especially from third parties, in theory, it's amazing to have all these all-star of industry games on Nintendo hardware. However, what they showed was like, ooh, I mean, it's showcasing that the Nintendo Switch 2 is definitely getting third party support. Now, granted, they're late ports, but at least they are finally getting those games. So if you have already played those games on other platforms, which probably will look and run and perform a lot better than the Switch 2, then yeah, I could see it being a hard sell for you when it comes to whether or not to get a Nintendo Switch 2, because a lot of the launch lineup is just ports. I mean, the only exclusive that they truly have when it comes to Nintendo themselves on launch day is just Mario Kart World. If you don't like Mario Kart World, then all you have is just a bunch of third party ports, and depending on the person that you are, you may or may not have played those games. So it depends. It depends, honestly. It depends. But I can see what Yoshida is saying on this part right here. Like it could be definitely a hard sell. It could definitely be a hard sell, especially somebody out there that is a multi-console owner. Nothing more, nothing less here. Like it definitely would be a hard sell. And the gimmick is the Joy-Con mouse, so which is neat. It's neat. But yeah, I don't think Nintendo is losing its identity. I think Nintendo is just, doing what they always do, making a revolutionary system, and also just, making the sequel system an evolution system, meaning just a better form of that system with the innovation, basically a better version of that revolutionary system, which in this case the Nintendo Switch 2 is just a better Nintendo Switch at the end of the day. So I don't think Nintendo is losing its identity, but I could be wrong. Maybe I should be looking at this a different way. And let me know in the comment section below. Do you guys think Nintendo is losing its identity? Let me know in the comments. Hope you guys have a good day. This is lavoncason signing out, and peace.